they just get to piggyback on our authorization of military force? Like, just because we willy-nilly go, we go in Syria to get bad guys, are they able to just do that?
Or is it just us doing it through them?
Well, there's that too.
It's a sweet gray area.
I don't even know if it's a gray area. I think it's just one of those things that are like, stop us.
Right,
You know?
right.
I feel they're just like, hey, look, U.S. said it's okay. You got a problem with that? Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular political candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always, is...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
The Bean Dip Frito-Lay. So things have been happening. It's been kind of an eventful, especially end of the week, I'd say. Like, it started off with some things to talk about. Then all of a sudden, everybody just decided to just jump in and let's do some stuff, There's been things domestic. There's been things international. One of the things that popped off, was it just last night? It was just last night. Iran sent a bunch of drones, followed by a bunch of ballistic missiles, into Israel. Unlike previous drone attacks, because there's been some that have come from like Yemen, And it's like, the Houthis did it. And it's like, well, yeah, but who sent them to them? Who gave them all the technology? And who probably controlled them from Yemen? It's like, well, it was Iran, Like, Yemen is where we have been doing this weird proxy war where it's like we help the Saudis go in there and fight the Houthis, who are just Iran. So Iran's helping one side, we're helping another side. And it's just all the Yemeni people, of course, are suffering, starving, and dying of disease. But, we really want to test out some of our stuff, And quite frankly, Saudis say jump, we say how high. We go, what? Oh, no, we can help you with that. We can help just whatever you need, whatever you're bidding. We'll do it for you. Because, America?
Oil?
Maybe. Do they have oil?
I don't know. I think so.
Did you hear about the Saudis changed their plan for the, what is it called, the Blade?
Yeah, they shortened it by a bunch.
Yeah, at first it was supposed to be something like 100 miles or 1,000 miles or something like that. And it was going to be this like crazy, just like city, like New York City population. Guess what they shrunk it to?
It's like a mile and a half.
It's
right?
like, I don't think it was a mile and a half. I think it was 1.05 miles. But yeah, something like that. So it's like, well, after we got going, it ends up the costs were difficult. This thing's never going to happen. Like when I saw these plans, I was like, if you got infinite money and you're a king, yeah, you can build whatever the hell you want to, But it seemed aggressive. It would have been incredible. I was like, this is going to be the coolest thing. Now I think they'll probably finish it, get their mile done, force some people to live there. Or maybe it'll just turn into like, I don't know, like a summer or winter, just a vacation spot for the various, whatever the hell they are, the crown princes and all that kind of stuff. So it's either going to be something where they force people to live there against their will, who then probably die because there'll be some issue with like the air filtration or something, and they all just slowly get carbon monoxide poisoning. Or it just becomes like this badass vacation home for the super wealthy, and they go, whatever. Like we built our own resort. Anyway, so not delivering on their promises. I was going to move there too. Were you going to move to Saudi Arabia?
I was thinking about it. They do a lot of cloud seeding to get rain there now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Man, you see they just, what were they doing? Like spraying like aerosol into the clouds off of like California or something like that. They were trying to make the clouds reflect more light. So they're spraying like an aerosol thing into it. This was like the beginning of the week. So I guess the beginning of the week kicked off like that, where they're just like, well, if we can make these clouds fluffier and more reflective, then the sunlight will like bounce back up. Then it won't be so hot. Global warming saved. If we do this like all over the damn planet, we can drop the temperatures by blah, blah, blah. Of course, my thought is like, and they go, it won't affect the clouds at all. It's like, I mean, rain, like water goes up and be cloud and then fall out of cloud and it's rain. We probably shouldn't coat all of the drinking water for the globe in some sort of weird, like we already do enough crazy stuff. We're gonna get the water while it's in the clouds and pollute it. I mean, that's a special level of science there. It's like anybody can pollute a river, stream, pond. It's like we pollute the damn clouds. And of course, you know, it's just another Mr. Burns blocks out the sun moment where we go, cool, science. I don't know if we're all on the same page of what we want, but I guess block out the sun and build some woolly mammoths and we'll be fine. Anyway, I'm off topic. So this time, instead of going through a proxy, Iran sent their own drones. And Israel reports like 99% of them were intercepted. So let's see, and we'll face the nation here, what they got. Loop, hey, go full screen.
Damn.
Okay. I guess if it's not full screen, that's not the end of the world. What did you do? Oh, there we go. Oh, this is why it's not full screen. I gotta hit that button. Ooh, okay, well, we will listen to the report out of Israel.
From the north to the south, Israel's powerful air defense systems intercepted more than 300 Iranian drones and missiles with the help of the United States, Jordan, and the UK. It is the scenario everyone has feared since the October 7 Hamas attack, a state-to-state confrontation that could spiral into a regional war. Hardline Iranian supporters celebrated the strikes as the regime boasted that their Operation True Promise had exceeded their expectations.
I wonder what their expectations
despite
were.
Israel saying it intercepted 99% of the incoming projectiles.
A number of Iranian missiles fell inside Israeli territory, causing minor damage to a military base with no casualties.
Israel is...
All right. And actually, let's hop to the very next video because that one's just cool. It's only a couple seconds, but basically someone got video. It looked like a ballistic missile got intercepted in orbit or in I don't know what they call it, exo-atmospheric intercept by Israel. So oops. Yeah, let's go back here. So this is saying like basically in the atmosphere, above the atmosphere or whatever, is where the ballistic missile was flying when it intercepted. So check this out. It's really cool how it explodes. It's like a movie. Oops. Play son of a gun. Isn't that pretty cool? I mean, that's the entire thing, but boom. But it's like a movie. Like when you see space explosions, apparently that's why they look like that. It's something about being that high up. Yeah.
Like the lack of oxygen and all that.
Something. I don't know. Science. I think it's something science related. Maybe space related. All right. So I don't know exactly what Iran's expectations were, but I guess they exceeded them. Perhaps they were just testing to see what they could do. Of course, as you heard Face the Nation say, it was not just the Iron Dome. Jordan was shooting them down, and the U.S. and I think the U.K. scrambled fighter jets, and so they were, doing their thing, flying around, shooting stuff down, and probably shooting from the ships as well. So an interesting thing, like obviously this ramps up tensions more. Say what you want about the evils of proxy wars and like the passive aggressive evilness or whatever of kind of not fighting a war while you actually are fighting a war, or just not getting authorized through anybody, like not great. But when you're not even trying to hide it, that's when things kind of grow, I would say. I mean, they kind of simmer with all the proxy stuff, but yeah, it's a boiling. One thing that I've noticed, I'm sure you may have noticed, we've kind of talked about in the past, is like when there is some sort of attack that occurs where it hits America or one of our allies, we always start looking at it from 1 millisecond before the attack. So it's always, we were minding our own business, and these people attacked us, and now we need to go kill them. You know, that's always how it goes. Now, if we strike somebody, and they go, hey, why did you kill that wedding party in, you know, wherever it was, Syria? We go, well, you know, you don't understand. There's actually this guy who did all this bad stuff, and he was there. We've been tracking him for years, so it actually is a long history. If you really follow it, like, we did the right thing. He was a bad guy killed. It's like, okay, cool context. So, but, you know, obviously, in every event, you know, our actions were good. Their actions were uncalled for, out of the blue, unexpected. And, you know, terror. It was terror. So much like that, you know, we've got, let's see how they talk about this. This is from The Blaze. So the coverage will be, you know, not as bad as some places. But Iran has launched a drone and missile attack on Israel, according to multiple military sources. The Israeli Defense Force, IDF, and Iran launched aerial drones at... what did you say? Yeah, Israeli Defense Forces said Iran launched aerial drones at Israel on Saturday. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said the drones may take several hours to reach their intended targets. So I guess this was after their launch. We are following the threat in airspace. It's a threat that will take a number of hours to arrive in Israel. He stressed that the country has a plan in place to intercept the drones. The defense and the offense systems of the Israeli Air Force are on alert and dozens of planes in the sky, prepared and ready. We are conducting a situational assessment with our strategic partners, primarily the U.S., and maintaining tight coordination with them. So, you know, we're not involved. We're just using our fighter jets to be involved. He called on Israelis to be vigilant. IDF said more than 100 drones were fired at Israel. All right, Americans said U.S. forces shot some down. Iran's permanent mission to the United Nations ordered the United States to stay away, all caps, from the drone attack. Conducted on the strength of Article 51 of the UN Charter pertaining to legitimate defense, Iran's military action was in response to the Zionist regime's aggression against our diplomatic premises in Damascus, Iran stated. The matter can be deemed concluded. However, should the Israeli regime make another mistake, Iran's response will be considerably more severe. It is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime, from which the U.S. must stay away! Exclamation point, capital letters. Anyway, let's see. Israeli leader stated, "We've determined a clear principle. Whoever harms us, we will harm them. We will defend ourselves against any threat, and will do so level-headedly and with determination." I don't know if Israel's responses this time can really be considered all that level-headed. I don't know. All right, so what are we all talking about here? Israel, not too long ago, so, you know, they're fighting this. Well, they're eviscerating the Palestinians right now. They're leveling Gaza, and then anybody like Hezbollah who's assisting the Houthis, you know, they're kind of not fighting with them. They're intercepting, sometimes kind of shooting some stuff wherever they need to, you know. But the problem is, let's see, this is from, I don't know, April 1st. So April 1st, top Iranian military commanders were among the 7 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officials killed in an airstrike on the country's consulate in Damascus, Syria, according to Iranian officials and state-affiliated media, which blamed Israel for the attack. So, you know, bad dudes, or Iranian commanders died. People gathered around the flattened building in Syria's capital. According to photographs of the scene, footage of the aftermath of the blast, published by Iranian state media, Press TV showed extensive damage, fire, smoke, all that kind of stuff. So, 6 missiles from Israeli F-35 warplanes took this thing out. Iranian embassy staff and military advisors were among the dead, he added. It's unclear if any of the IRCG officials were diplomatic staff, and CNN connect. All right, so they bombed a consulate. They took it out with missiles. Fighter jets blew up an Iranian consulate in Syria. So it was an attack on Iran in Syria. None of this is within Israel's borders. You know, they've gone into another country to attack another country.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I do wonder, you know, we used the 2001 authorization of military force or whatever to carry out drone strikes, you know, strategic killing. But basically, like, we'll kill a terrorist leader in Syria, in Libya, and wherever, and we go, you know, this isn't war. This is that same thing that we authorized to fight down, or, you know, track down the terrorist who did 9/11. And, you know, we're just going to keep going until we get them all the people that did 9/11 23 years ago. And so instead of declaring war against somebody, instead of partnering with a nation to say, hey, there's these bad guys, we'd like to work together to get this bad guy, we just go in whenever we want, because we authorized it. And over again, we reauthorize it and reauthorize it. So, you know, we're kind of legitimate, you know, in that we put it on paper and voted, I guess. But, you know, Israel, I do wonder, like, do they just get to piggyback on our authorization of military force? Like, just because we willy-nilly go, we go in Syria to get bad guys, are they able to just do that?
Or is it just us doing it through them?
Well, there's that too. Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, I mean, most of I guess they do make some of their own stuff, but, like, you know.
It's a sweet gray area.
I don't even know if it's a gray area. I think it's just one of those things that are like, stop us.
Right,
you know?
right.
I feel they're just like, hey, look, U.S. said it's okay. You got a problem with that? So everyone's like, nah, I mean, whatever. You know, who cares about Syria? They go, yeah, that's what I thought. Turn your heads. Ends up people in Syria are not huge fans of it, if you can believe that. Yeah, something about various sovereign nations coming into your sovereign nation with weapons of war to kill your citizens because they don't like them. They don't like that too much. It's shocking.
Fair. That's fair.
You know, they're a little uptight. But anyway, so, you know, Israel says, well, it was not a consulate full of ambassadors and all that. It was actually a strategic military location. Let me see what they said. We don't have to switch back over. I just want to see if I can find. Let's see how the Iranian said it's perhaps the first time that the Zionist regime allows itself to attack an official building of the Islamic Republic of Iran embassy, which had the flag of the Islamic Republic raised on top of it. Here we go. Military spokesman told CNN that Israel believes the Iranian building hit in the attack is a military building of Quds forces and not a consulate. According to our intelligence, this is no consulate and this is no embassy. I repeat, this is no consulate and it is no embassy. This is a military building of Quds forces disguised as a civilian building in Damascus. Yeah. So that's my favorite part of it, though, the repeat. Like, this is no consulate. There's no embassy. I repeat, this is no consulate, no embassy. It's one of those, like, I don't know. I'll protest too much.
We're like splitting hairs over what kind of building it is.
Yeah, well, they're just like, hey, listen. If it's like an embassy, that violates like all sorts of rules of the UN. You know, it is an act of war against two nations, really. So it's like you just attacked this nation out of the blue and killed ambassadors, and ambassadors, you know, they're supposed to have a little bit of safety there because their whole gig is kind of being able to like keep friendly relations so we can just talk things out instead of having to like kill everybody, you know? So you go, hey, look, we got ambassadors and they're pretty chill. Like in the U.S., we just basically hand it out to the wealthy donors to do whatever. But every now and then there's some that actually do stuff, you know? But, you know, because their role is sort of building relationships and peaceful resolution theoretically, you know, we all kind of agree not to kill them. So, and their secretaries and accountants and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, he goes, all right, it's a military building. And this is an area where I have the hardest time navigating in this conflict, this ongoing conflict for years, you know. In Gaza, you know, we hear, hey, the Hamas, they hide missiles in residential areas. They hide under schools. They hide under hospitals. Some of that definitely rings true. The tunnel system that they have is very much everywhere under there. There are missiles that launch out of apartment buildings. So you go, all right, I mean, we have some proof there. But then, like, do you remember when they were, like, raiding a hospital shortly after October 7th? They had this video, and they're like, oh, we're going to find, this is where a weapons cache is going to be. And so they go, and they look, and they're like, oh, clear, what's in here? Oh, it's, you know, paper towels or whatever. Like, oh, and so, like, at some point, finally, in, like, a room with, like, an X-ray machine or MRI or something, they came across this, like, one bag that had, you know, like, I don't know, machine guns and pistols and knives in it. But, like, not that many. You know, I think, I don't know, I mean, I forget if it was like 5 or 10 or something like that. But you know, they're pulling, look, see, and look, just like, look at this, like 3 pistols, 7 rifles, and look at these knives. and it was just like, that's the weapons cache?
It just rings a bell of the weapons of mass destruction from back in the day that never turned up.
Sure did. You know, one thing that was interesting, they did find ballistic missiles that had hints of mustard gas on them back then. But then I guess they were just like, I don't know, maybe it was like reported once and then kind of left. And it makes me think that, like, once people start looking at it, they're like, there's no way we can sell this thing. Like, you know, someone just went over there with Frenches and just squirted it on top of these missiles. Like, see, mustard gas. Frenches. So I was always wondering, because I remember hearing that. I was like, I'll be damned, they found something. Like, I never heard anything about it again, not from left wing or right wing. So it's like, all right, well, I don't know what came. But yeah, so you get this raid that they're live streaming because, like, they're just like, we're going to show you this hospital and the tunnels and all the stuff you find. And they came up with bupkis, you know? And so then you go, all right. So clearly there are some sites that have been used for war that shouldn't be, which is a war crime, you know? Hamas should not be doing that. That puts innocent people in harm's way. But it does also look like sometimes when Israel blows something up or raids something or what have you, they'll use that same justification, and it doesn't always ring true. So that's a problem. You know, governments lie to cover their butts. You know, they don't want to be... You know, just, you know, we don't send in the military, we send in peacekeepers. You know, it's all spin. It's all try to put a happy face on everything. So it's like, all right, so you got Hamas, and it's like, all right, well, they do this sometime. But sometimes it looks like Israel is just taking stuff out, and they go, ooh, I guess we were wrong on that one. It's like, pretend like we weren't. Pretend like we weren't. Or maybe they weren't wrong at all. They're just like, I saw people going, they just blow it up. Like, we're doing this now, like...
Yeah, it's like which side's actually lying, or are both just lying, you know?
And that's all I can conclude is that both sides lie, you know? And so that's the toughest part because, like, I've been watching videos on, like, Live Leak for years of, like, the Palestinian fatalities and stuff where they got all the body bags and shit. Look at this one. This is what Israel did. This is what Israel did. All of a sudden you see someone, like, reach one of the body bags, like, reach up and scratch their nose or something. And it's just like, all right, so you got fake corpses and, like, and, you know, these videos come up over and over again.
Thanks, Hollywood.
I know. They're like, hey, we can do that. They just, like, bought body bags in bulk or got them from the UN or something. And they're just like, all right, stage it. And as soon as it's, like, cut, everyone gets up. They go, oh, well, that was a nice nap. And so then when Israel comes out and goes, no, like, there was no fatality. We struck this thing. That didn't happen. There's, you know, 2 fatalities or whatever. Yeah, well, I mean, that video was pretty silly. So I think Israel's not lying on this one. But then, once again, things pop up. You go, I don't know. So with this Iranian consulate, are military leaders in Syria? Probably. But, like, I also don't know, like, is a general forbidden to visit his consulate in another country? I would think not. I don't know. Like, obviously, you're not supposed to use it for planning an attack on someone, theoretically. But, I don't even know if that's an actual rule. I don't actually know the rules of embassies and consulates,
In this day and age, there are no rules.
I mean, it feels like that all the time. Just lie. But to just to take it out and then go as a military base. It's like, I don't know. Israel at this point, I just think needs more than that to justify, And so then you go, all right, well, you in here, Iran said, listen, this was retaliation for bombing our consulate and killing our people. So that's it. This was our return to attack for what they did. And it doesn't have to go any further than this as long as, the U.S. stays out and Israel doesn't bomb us again. And so they go, all right, well, maybe it's Israel's fault. And they go, well, hold on, let's go backwards again from that. And it's just like, well, why would they be taking out Iranian stuff? And of course, they've had beef for forever. But as we talked about, like whether it's Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hamas, a lot of H's. I think there's a code there. Something about H's. Triple H. But anyway, they've been clearly had their hands in this thing from the beginning. A lot of the attacks from the Houthis are actually like coordinated through Iran. Hezbollah is definitely, sort of a proxy of Iran or a sidekick or whatever you want to call them. And then Hamas is looking to move their way up the ladder to a Hezbollah level. I'm not thinking they're going to get there. And so you go, oh, okay, well, so Iran started doing that. But anyway, you just keep going backwards. And eventually, with everything over there, it all ends up in the same place, which is like, I was about to say the formation of Israel. And then like the Palestinians, where it's like, all right, get on out of here. And they go, okay, where are we going to go? We're like, don't care. It's out. They're like, okay, we'll go to Egypt. Egypt's like, we're full. I go, how about Jordan? Jordan's like, we're full. And they're like, ah. And then
That's a great way to put it.
They just they turn off they turn on the light. No vacancy.
Like the Disney parking garages. No spaces available.
That's right. They even have Mickey Mouse, but Mickey Mouse in a nice Arab garb with a beard. But yeah, so like, people try to go back to that point and they go, well, you got to go further back than that. And like suddenly you get into biblical times and all that. And it's just like, okay. This is just a mess. And like, I think, like we've talked about before, I think the Palestinian people have been used as pawns in a game by people who don't live in Gaza, or the West Bank. They're purposefully in limbo in perpetuity so that Israel looks like they're doing the wrong thing. For their part, Israel's kind of doing the wrong thing because they said, all right, you can independently govern yourself in Gaza. Like, congratulations, boom, govern however you want. Have elections. They go, we elect Hamas. They go, okay, we didn't, maybe not them. And the Hamas was like, no more elections.
This backfired really quickly.
Yeah, they're like, damn, why did we suggest elections, But, so although they've been independently governed, it's not their own nation. They haven't been allowed to, like, set up trade routes and all this kind of stuff. Like, Israel's just like, well, I mean, it's our land, but you can't come past our wall, and you can't go past Egypt's wall, and you can't go too far out in the water either. And so, the term open air prison, like, at first sounds kind of silly, but then you start thinking about it, and it's like, well, I mean, like, it's a city, like when they talk about a settlement.
It was a city.
Well, that's a valid point. It was a city, yeah. But, when you hear, like, settlements and refugees and all that, you think tents and like UN camps and all this kind of stuff. I mean, these are like apartment buildings and, you know, shops and all these things, mosques. Like they build with materials. They just don't have a good source of power and water, you know, thanks to Hamas stealing all the money. So, but it becomes one of those things where it's like, you would think of Israel, if you're really going to say, all right, it's yours, man. Like, just get rid of Gaza then. Just get rid of it and say, there, it's yours. We're not in charge of it, which means we don't provide power or water. You know, like we give, you got 10 years, you got 10 years. And after that, like, you know, we're going to stop. But like for 10 years, we'll keep doing this. And then, but it's yours, you know, so we can still enforce our borders. But, you know, like the water we have to share, you can come up with diplomatic relations with Egypt or what have you. And just for safe passage of materials. I mean, you can work it out with Israel too, where it's like, all right, we're just safe passage of materials. But, you know, they don't do that. It's kind of this half step where it's like, all right, we're going to pretend it's sort of a 2-state solution, but it's one state. Anyway, so with everyone acting, it is just, I don't see what the end is, you know, like really, it's hard to see a solution that doesn't involve somebody, some side, and genocide, you know, because it's like, it's been going on basically since the formation of Israel. Almost no progress has been made as far as within the state of Israel, you know. The Israeli law enforcement and military forces, especially like in the West Bank where there's not Hamas, you know, there's stop and frisk and, you know, second tier citizen type thing. So it's not good on the Palestinians. Obviously, having all of your neighbors want to murder you is not wonderful for Israel. That part's cooled a little bit. You know, Egypt and Jordan and some of these cats are less angry about Israel existing. But then you got Iran and their people who, yeah, they would love Israel to just be dead. And it's like, I don't think the Iran, Yemen, Syria type cats, I don't think they're going to be satisfied while Israel exists. So you go, okay, how does this side resolve its wants? It's like, well, get rid of Israel. It becomes a state of Palestine. You go, okay, well, that seems like it's not going to be something that happens. So you go, well, what's another way where Israel can exist and they're not under this attack all the time? And it's like, well, I guess if they just kill everyone in Iran and Syria, and then it's just like, all right, well, that's not a good solution either. And so I just don't know how this thing resolves. But it's escalating. And so we now have scrambled ships again to get closer over there to help intercept things. We have airplanes flying around, shooting things up in, I guess, Israeli airspace, but it sounds like we've been in Syria. Jordan is getting grief because they intercepted some of these. And of course, Jordan's saying, like, we intercepted drones or missiles that were in our airspace. Like, of course we're going to shoot them.
Right, we're not just going to be like, hope those don't hit us.
It's like, I don't think those are headed for us. Those are going somewhere else. It'll be fine. Yeah, it is funny. Like, they are getting grief, like, among, like, the Arab world, you know? Or at least the Arab world sympathetic to the Iranian side type thing. Or just against Israel. But like, looking online, the people reacting all over the place were one of two ways. Israel attacked two sovereign countries, and this is a retaliation, and now they're playing a victim. You know, all Israel's fault. And the other side is, this was another attack from another country, and they're trying to ramp this thing up and start a war. Israel's the victim. And so it's just like, it's just neither one of those, Like, this is Hatfield's McCoy's, and it's just going to keep going. And I'm worried that we're about to be dragged into it. But at least what you might say is, with this new conflict happening, as long as things don't expand further, maybe we don't go towards World War III, So now we got Iran, and we got Israel, and we've got, of course, the Hamas, Gaza Palestinians, and Yemen a little bit involved. America, of course, UK apparently. Well, also from, is that today? Is today the 14th? That can't be. What is today?
Yes.
That's the 14th. How is this from 11/22? I don't know. Well, Israel Sunday struck a Hezbollah site in Lebanon's east near the Syrian border. The Israeli army and source from the Iran-backed group said as tension soared after Iran directly attacked Israel. I think I read that poorly. The Hezbollah source told AFP that the Israeli strike targeted an area near Baalbek and targeted a 2-story building belonging to Hezbollah, adding there were no casualties. Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported that an enemy airstrike targeted a building in the village of Nabi Sheet and destroyed it. Okay, let's see, what you got?
Well, they're calling it a weapons manufacturing site?
Yeah, so the Israeli army said in a statement that in response to the launches overnight, fighter jets struck significant Hezbollah weapons manufacturing site in the Nabi Sheet area deep inside of Lebanon. Let's see, Hezbollah said it had twice launched a barrage of Katyusha rockets, I don't know, towards the Israeli annexed Golan Heights, saying they were in response to Israeli attacks on villages and towns in Lebanon. It has launched similar barrage in the past, but Sunday, Okay. So, Iran strikes towards Israel because Israel struck towards Iran and Syria. And now, another Iranian proxy, Hezbollah. Israel strikes a building in Lebanon because they say it was a weapons manufacturing site for Hezbollah, who so far has been an interesting participant. Like, they haven't tried to get into Israel, but they've kind of hung out near the border and just been like, pew, 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 pew. It's like, yeah. So they shoot over the border and they launch some stuff, So, I mean, they're doing things, they're attacking, but they're not invading. They're still kind of like trying to have a little deniability where they go out. I mean, some people by the border did some things, but that's not this. You can't control every person. And so, but assuming that they're funded by Iranian cash, this is an Iranian facility for manufacturing weapons for the Iranian cause, which Hezbollah shares with them. So Israel is like, all right, we'll shoot into another sovereign nation to take out a building. Now, they have stated early on that if Hezbollah was to pile on, like right after October 7th, that they would just straight destroy Damascus. They're just like, we will, or Damascus. I just say, anyway. Whatever. That was Baalbek. Damascus is, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, but they were just like, we're gonna flatten you. We'll totally destroy you. Like we want Lebanon's government to keep Hezbollah under control, or we'll hold you accountable and we'll just bomb the living hell out of you. And so they did say that. So it's not like it's crazy that they attacked Lebanon, but they did. So now we've got attacks into Syria, attacks into Lebanon. We've got the U.S. involved, all around, UK, all around, not involved. They're both not involved. Biden's like, we will not have troops in there. We're not going to participate in any sort of battle. This is not our fight. But we do urge, we stand with the Israelis and whatever, that kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth. We totally got Israel's back, but we're not going to have their back like militarily. It's just in the heart and spirit. We got your back, dog. So it just seems like we're going to keep escalating this thing.
So the reason I was saying that it says they're describing it as a weapons manufacturer, but there were no casualties. So nobody's there making weapons actively, but it's a weapons manufacturing site. Okay. I'm just trying to clear this up in my head. So
And like, no one has to guard the weapons manufacturer. Like they just go, listen, it's Sunday. I haven't got to go home.
day of rest. That's why no one's there. Silly me. Chick-fil-A's closed that day.
There you go. That was what they said. No Chick-fil-A, no weapons manufacturer. Come on. Is in Islam, is Sunday the day of rest?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I feel like it's Friday for some reason, but I think I'm making that up. Anyway, but yeah, it is another thing. Like that was a military installation. It's like that building was. Yep, they make weapons. It's like, do you have any evidence you want to share? Like, listen, it's classified. It's like, cool. So, and like no casualties. So what did you blow up? You know, like I guess maybe it wasn't manufacturing. Maybe someone had just dropped off a bunch of weapons there. That's all I could think is. It's like, they're storing them there. It's like, well, blow them up. But even then they'd call it like a weapons cache or something. They probably wouldn't call it a manufacturing facility.
I mean, maybe they got tipped off, but usually there's confirmation before you do something like that.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like, oh, they said so. We bombed it.
I mean, you know, look at the recent history of conflict. I don't think we always get great confirmation.
But I mean, at least, I mean, I'm not defending Israel. Like, I hate war. I hate both sides, pretty
Sure.
much what they're doing. But we used, going back to the Damascus bombing, no, I'll just say we used 6 missiles to take out one building, and then Iran just peppers a country with 300.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I wonder if, I don't know. I wonder if the plan is, I don't know how this would work, but, you know, it's Iron Dome. They have to, like, you know, they have to restock those things, you know? So when we send money over, a lot of times it's like, here's money to buy missiles. And a lot of times we make those missiles. So it's kind of this weird cyclical arrangement. But it's like, all right, maybe since they're not an infinite number, even though, you know, at some point they have to run out. Like the U.S. is in a horrible financial state where we're about to collapse, you know, and we're sending all this money for weapons to Ukraine, and like we're going in both directions here. I mean, we can't arm multiple conflicts at once while actually staying battle ready in case somebody actually attacks us, you know, and like as we're making sure that we're not well armed. We're also getting involved in the conflicts that will maximize the likelihood of an attack. I didn't even pull this up, but did you hear recently about how they confirmed like an Afghan terrorist or something? Someone that was on the terrorist watch list from Afghanistan was picked up at the southern border and released.
I think I did hear this.
Yeah. And so then it's like, all of a sudden the government's like, look, it seems actionable that an attack is coming. They actually said something in line with what happened in Russia. But it's like, okay, cool. So like, as we've shown, like all these military-age men from all sorts of countries are coming over the southern border. Caught at least one on a terrorist watch list. You know, lots of Chinese nationals that I don't know why they're coming in through Mexico. You know, and it's just like, all right, well, everything's fine.
Well, and if you're Iran and you know, I mean, everything you're talking about, they're probably discussing. Why wouldn't you do? And I'm not saying they should do this. Why wouldn't you do another large scale attack, knowing that the defense is depleted right now?
I mean, that's what because when they go, oh, this did better than we thought. The only thing I can think of is like that number of munitions got used up, and they've realized that they can take a drone that costs, you know, however much and use it to take out missiles that cost however much. So instead of having to be like, and this might be as simple as it is, because like it used to be, you shot rockets into Israel, they got picked off, they sent a rocket back and, you know, normally leveled you. You know, they go, like, hey, we did it. And all of a sudden, the apartment building's gone, you know. Other videos from Live Leak. But maybe it's something as simple as like, you know, we need our various munitions in order to actually win a war, you know? And there's different types of drones, you know? Like You can have armed drones. You can have like the fancy ones where they're actually fairly huge and flown like an airplane. And then there's other ones that maybe you don't even need to hold weapons, And so if you can take a drone that's just built for, being able to go the distance you need to go and maybe have ammo on it, maybe not, and just invade the airspace. So it's just like just like you're using a bunch of your weapons. I'm throwing away Christmas toys,
Yeah, maybe they got a data analyst crunching numbers like, for every drone we send in, they send up 5 missiles to try and knock it out.
I mean, maybe. Or even if it's 1 for 1, like on the money side, that comes out in Iran's favor in the long run, And and you could probably I'm sure you can make drones a lot faster than you can make missiles. I think, I don't know for sure. But just buy in bulk from China. But so that, I mean,
Wish.com.
yeah. What's that Amazon knockoff that everybody's addicted to?
I mean,
something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their ads are always ridiculous. They always look like they're advertising.
Temu, yeah,
Temu. Yeah, they always look like they're advertising porn. There's a couple of websites I go on. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm at work. What is this? And it's like selling leggings and stuff. But I was like, oh, okay. It just looks like an ad for localsingles.com or something. Yeah, so that is escalating, and I would say that no one is managing it well. And so as the likelihood of attacks increase, I mean, according to the feds, but also just without taking their word for it, we're involved with a few international conflicts with a handful of countries. That's sometimes makes them mad at you and want to attack. So you go, all right, well, what tools do we have at our disposal for investigating these potential terror attacks? Well, one thing people like to use is FISA, which is supposed to be used, post 9/11 in order to track down terrorists. It's just like, hey, listen, we want permission to bug this phone, this connection, this whatever, and we have suspected links to terrorism. The problem is the FISA court is not monitored at all, and so to get a FISA warrant, it's very easy, almost 100% success rate, and I like to say it's like if a detective had to get a warrant from a detective. And they'd be like, yeah, go ahead. What are they going to say? No? Like, it's not a judge. They're going to be like, you think you want? Yeah, go ahead. Look into them. Like, I don't care. But it's also been weaponized against United States citizens. And so it's up for reauthorization. And that was towards the end of the week. We had, it could expire this year and take away this gross spying tool that the government's been using to spy on us. And so it's been brought up, and, Thomas Massey has done a lot on this, as he does, because he's wonderful. But he was talking about how one of the interesting things, this one's called, I think, RISA instead of FISA, RISA, because it's like reform in secure, whatever, reform something or other. But he talked about how there's a carve-out in this. And so for RISA, one of the reforms goes, Congress has to have oversight. They're supposed to be told about everything, right? So if someone seeks a FISA warrant against you, no one knows about it. You don't know about it until, I don't know, probably till you're arrested or something. They'll have a whole collection of all your calls and your emails and all that because they've been listening to you for however long they felt like it. And then that's it. They just build their case and go. Now, if it was against, I don't know, like Ted Cruz or Nancy Pelosi or Thomas Massey, this says, well, you gotta tell the congressperson they're under investigation. So someone goes, all right, we're gonna investigate Nancy Pelosi and Thomas Massey. They go, hey, you're being investigated by the federal government, and they're gonna tap all your stuff. Oh, cool. Thanks for letting me know. And they go, the Republicans say, well, that's to combat all the things that they did to spy on Donald Trump's first campaign. They used FISA to get warrants to like tap Trump Tower and like follow that one dude who like talked too much in Australia or whatever that they said was. Remember that young guy? I forget. I'm blanking on his name now. They're like he was the basis of Russian collusion because he was just running his mouth about whatever. And so anyway, all this happened through FISA. And so they go, well, this will keep that from being abused because, if you're running for president, or no, actually, I take that back. If you're an incumbent president, incumbent congressperson running for re-election, you'll be informed about such things. If you're just running, so really it wouldn't have stopped what happened to Donald Trump because he was a private citizen at that point. He hadn't won. So anyway, that's one of the ways they're really fixing this thing to make sure they take care of Congress people. So Thomas Massey or a couple of people submitted an amendment to this where they said before the vote, there's an amendment. We want warrants to be required. If you can get a FISA warrant on an American citizen, you should have to be able to get an actual warrant before you do that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So just like a detective at a local police department wanting to investigate you, they go, hey, we would like to, look through your house, tap your phone, whatever. They go to a judge, they make their case, they show their evidence, their probable cause. You don't have to convict. It's probable cause to look into it. And the judge says either that's enough or it's not enough. I mean, they tend to lean with the cops, of course. They grant the warrant and investigation begins. So they were saying, like, listen, let's just require a warrant like every other law enforcement does, right? So they voted for that on Friday. Right here, we'll read this from the Blaze. The House voted 273 to 147 Friday in favor of reauthorizing the surveillance bill that has been exploited by the FBI hundreds of thousands of times to spy on American citizens. Only 59 Republicans reportedly voted against renewing it, Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. The bill is now headed to the Senate, where it will likely be passed before the April 19th deadline, to the great satisfaction of the champions in the Biden administration, members of the House Intelligence Committee, and Attorney General Merrick Garland. The bill was passed after an amendment requiring the FBI to get a warrant before searching Americans' private communications under Section 702 failed earlier that day with a 212 to 212 tie vote. So they're like, hey, let's get a warrant. And half of Congress said, nah. And the tiebreaker came from the Speaker of the House. The Speaker doesn't always vote, right? The Speaker helps gather things through. They go, all right. They work behind the scenes or whatever. But a lot of times the Speaker doesn't vote, It was a tie. Speaker said we should authorize it. And so, or we should not have warrants, I guess I should say. The congressman who led the amendment, Andy Biggs of Arizona, blasted the 86 Republicans who helped defeat it, writing, 86 Republicans voted with Joe Biden and the Uniparty to allow the FBI to continue spying on Americans without a warrant. The swamp is deep. And I do agree with that. I appreciate a member of either one of these political parties referring to everything as the Uniparty, because that's the reality on the ground. There's only one party up there. It is the party of D.C., There's Democrats and Republicans, but they're both part of the D.C. party. The D.C. party is there to grow their power, grow their influence, grow their comfort, become an oligarch, and, all of us are disgusting. They just don't want to see us. There you go. Mike Turner of Ohio said, among the 86... suggested that this amendment is not about Americans' inboxes and outboxes. This is not about Americans' data. His amendment is about Hezbollah data, Hamas's data, and the Communist Chinese Party's data, adding, it will make us go blind. So you're saying, this dude from Ohio is like, hey, if you need a warrant to tap the phones of an American citizen, the Chinese and Hezbollah win. Because they're American citizens in China.
But you can still investigate them with just get a warrant.
And also, if they're not American citizens, you don't need a warrant.
Right. This is so dumb.
I know. And it's like, well, FBI, it's like, well, how are we going to look into, well, like, first of all, that's the CIA's job, not the FBI's job to look international like that, but whatever. It was like, yeah, you don't need a warrant to get, Dr. Hamas over in wherever the hell. Like, you can look into that guy. But they listed the names here, and to no surprise, Dan Crenshaw out of Texas voted to not require a warrant. He is such a turd, this guy. Like, I think Dan Crenshaw might be one of the most amazing frauds that I've ever seen. Like, watching him, he came to the scene, like, he's special forces, lost his eye, good story. It's like, I'm a good looking dude, I'm in shape, I'm young, and, battle injury, special forces is awesome. And then, like, he worked for a congressperson for a couple years, and then he ran on a red district and he won. Good story. He always came off kind of level-headed and like, well, I think we should really think about this, and he came off like, oh, he's intelligent and logical, like, this is an interesting guy. And, he started his first year or two, he really spent going around like the conservative news wings and trying to ingratiate himself with, I don't know, like Steven Crowder and the Glenn Becks and Hannity. And hell, he may have even, did he go on Rogan at some point? I don't know if he did. I don't know. I can't remember if he did. But either way, he did.
Just marketing himself, basically.
Yeah, he was just going through, I think he may have written a book or whatever, but he was talking like this sort of, I want to protect our freedoms, but I think we need to get out of all this bickering in D.C. That people are acting like children. We can do this without all the hyperbole and the emotional stuff. Let's just chill out and just like handle business. And a lot of people are like, oh, cool. That sounds nice. And so like he did that. It was just like, oh, more freedom, less government. That's the way to go. And then like within 2 years of that like media tour, suddenly, I think it was 2 years ago, he had like within the top 5 of stock returns as far as like insider trading investments go. Like he outperformed Pelosi. I think just percentage wise, probably not gross. But it was like, okay, hold on. Dan Crenshaw, who was not a big fan of all the corruption, is one of the top earners in Congress in the stock market. I was like, that's a weird look. And then, like, he was listed on the World Economic Forum as a young whatever the hell,
40 under 40.
Yeah, that guy. Well, yeah, something like that. It's like, he's a blah, blah, blah. He goes, listen. He's like, they don't ask you. He's like, they just put you on there. You don't apply. He's like, I asked them to take me down. Like, they don't. He's like, so, there's nothing I can do with it. They just named me. And you go, all right, I guess. All right. But, like, he's just slowly just becoming, like, more and more of this authoritarian turd. And I think he was all along. I think part of Special Forces is building relationships. It's not all like guns and, gymnastics and stuff. It's not just holding your breath underwater. Like, you build a series of relationships all over so that, when it's time to infiltrate an area, you have allies, you have eyes, you have ears. You have a situation that's favorable, so you're not just kind of going, well, we're going to shoot our way in and shoot our way out, And so I think he used that kind of idea to try to build relationships on the right, become an incumbent in a red district, and then just go, all right, now time to protect me, because he's a plus 14 Republican district. The only way he ever gets out of office is if he steps down to like run for senator or something, or if he gets primaried. But the GOP punishes people who primary incumbents. I'm sure the DNC does too. But like in Florida, Jeff Brandes, that was one thing that one reason he fell out of favor with the GOP. It's because there's somebody who was Republican that held an office at the state house, and he didn't think he was doing a good job. So he's like, I'm going to primary him. And, GOP does not like that. But he ended up winning, and then he held the seat and all that kind of stuff. But it was just one of those things where he kind of got his hand slapped, for going against the family. But yeah, Crenshaw, like I've seen him. He was talking about, oh no, like we don't. The intelligence services, they don't lie to the American people. Like we don't do that. We don't do propaganda. And they go, what about Hunter Biden's laptop where all those intelligence people signed that looked like Russian disinformation? He goes, they were retired. He's like, that's not a program. That's a bunch of retired people signing something. It's like, okay. And so now he's just like, hey, let's tap everybody's phone whenever the hell we want without a warrant. So they reauthorized it without a warrant requirement. So like a lot of these people, said no warrant, but then like so many people passed it. So then Luna, who represents this district, actually technically not this district, but a major part of St. Pete, she came out and she did this procedural step where she was like, all right, let's do a revote, and so it passed or whatever, and she's patting herself on the back, and I mean, I guess it's something, it's worth a shot. So on Monday they're going to vote on it again, but not the warrant part. That part's dead forever. The amendments are dead forever. So now it's just whether to authorize it or not authorize it. But, when it passed by 273 to 147, I get passed by huge numbers. If they pulled, 50 votes, it still would pass. And the funny thing is, most of the people that are opposed to it, very left-wing, very conservative. Like the left-wing, right-wing extremes, they both are like, this program is screwy. And they have different reasons for saying it's screwy, but they're like, this is messed up. It's those turds in the middle who are there just to like get by. They're not even making waves. We don't even know their names for the most part. Here, let me jump to this next thing. One of the interesting things, let me see where I want to go. Let's kind of run out of time. I talked about that. So, like I said, a lot of times the speaker does not vote, but he did on this because of the tie. All right. But the interesting thing that I found about it is, let's see, Speaker Johnson, and this is from, where is this from? The Hill. So Speaker Johnson has done a full 180, opposing a new warrant requirement for Section 702 FISA, and infuriating judiciary members who feel that requirement is crucial for preventing Justice Department abuses, like the hundreds of thousands of times it's been abused. And so he basically used to be opposed to it. He was like, okay, like we need warrants. This is bad. These were views that the speaker deeply held like 20 minutes ago, Matt Gaetz said. So here's what the speaker, let's see. When I was a member of the judiciary, I saw all the abuses of the FBI. There were terrible abuses over and over, Johnson told reporters on Wednesday. And then when I became speaker, I went to the SCIF and I got the confidential briefing from sort of the other perspective on that to understand the necessity of Section 702 of FISA and how important it is for national security. And it gave me a different perspective. He continued using abbreviation for sensitive compartmented information facility. So I encourage all the members to go to the classified briefing and hear all that and see it so they can evaluate the situation for themselves. And I think some opinions have changed both ways, but that's part of the process if you got to be fully informed. So he's saying when he was on judiciary and he was looking at all the abuses by the FBI, he's like, damn, look at all these abuses by the FBI and American citizens. This is messed up. You shouldn't be able to do this. And it's like, then the intelligence agencies got to him. And he said, oh, no, we need to do this. That's interesting. Does that sound sketchy to you, Charlie?
I mean, surprise.
Yeah. It's George W. Bush, before he left office. People were concerned that, Obama coming in, like, it's going to be a disaster. Who knows what will happen? And, he's just like, I'll tell you, he's like, whoever's the next president, day one, they're going to get the same briefing I got, And once they get that briefing, they'll do the same things. They'll make the same decisions I made. And it's like, so presidents all get a briefing from intelligence, and then everybody is like pro-war, and it just keeps moving down that. Like, yeah. It's like, what is this briefing? Do they just scare you and go, see, look at all these successful things we've done? Or do they bring out a folder and go, this is what we got on you? How do you feel about voting?
I know Putin's talked about it before.
He sure has. Yeah, the men in the black suits. Yep.
It's like you have one meeting and then you have a second meeting.
And he's right. And I mean, it's essentially what George W. Bush said, So it's like Pooty Poot said it. Old W said it. So it's like, I believe it. And now Mike Johnson's saying it. And he's like, I talked to the black suits, and now I agree it's the best thing for the country. And like, is it blackmail? As it goes, listen, accidents happen all the time. That new car your wife got, the brakes can be a little sticky on there. So we are going to fight terror by illegally spying on our citizens hundreds of thousands of times. And like, this is the good news is it's only authorized for 2 years, so it'll come up again in 2 because they tried it for 5 and they couldn't get the votes, But it's like, I just can't understand why somebody that is concerned that Donald Trump is going to win and be a dictator, suspend the Constitution, all these things that they've been saying, like he wins, like he's going to be a fascist dictator. You go, okay. It's like, so we might as well authorize him to do warrantless spying on all Americans. It's like, cool. It's like, so you're not worried? They're like, well, we're worried about him retaliating against us. So we put this carve out in here, so we'll find out if he's retaliating against us. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And same with the Republicans. And it's like, you're going to just let, like, the Obama-Biden cats have shown they're more than comfortable with spying on their political opponents. Anybody in America. All the January 6th stuff was pretty squirrely. And it's and you're just going to let them finish this term with those powers again? It's like, cool. What do we even believe in? So yeah, we're going to, we just can't possibly fight terror and defend against China and Hezbollah and Hamas unless we spy on your grandmother. So that's good.
Well, and then they can deem your grandmother a terrorist for no reason at all.
She is a terrorist. Have you ever tried to eat those hard candies?
Speaking of that, like, if we can just investigate somebody without a warrant, right? And we can just label them a terrorist without any reason, why do we even need to investigate them?
That's a good point. Just judge, jury, execution. I am the law.
This is just... it's just... I don't even have any words. It's completely senseless.
It's extra...
Well, for us, it's completely senseless.
Yeah, very extrajudicial. But it does start to feel like some of the stories you hear from... everybody always like, oh, Nazi Germany, it's overused a lot. But when you hear stories of Stalin's Russia or Nazi Germany, all that kind of stuff, or any dictator, it's just like, you've been determined to be a terrorist. And it's just like, and that's it. Or an enemy of the state. You've been determined to be an enemy of the state, and now you will be held or executed or whatever. And it's like, what is my crime? It's like, and it feels like we just inch that way more and more. And I don't know. One quick thing before we go, a little Florida news from the Tallahassee Democrat. So Ron DeSantis has signed a law forbidding people from videoing law enforcement officers within 25 feet. So Bill SB 184 creates a 25-foot no-go zone around first responders, including the police. The other, which is the House bill, would limit what citizen police oversight boards can do, including investigating complaints of officer misconduct, and would require these panels to be reestablished under the county sheriffs and municipal police chiefs who would appoint the members. So SB 184 makes it illegal after you've been verbally warned to approach a first responder or remain within 25 feet while the responder is performing a legal duty with the intent to block or interfere with the ability to perform the duty, threaten the first responder with physical harm, harass the first responder. Harass seems very, very loose, doesn't it? And violations will be a second-degree misdemeanor, punishable for up to 60 days in jail. So now, if you want to video the cops, you're in trouble for it. If you get close enough to see their face. We go, that's good, because the problem is people videoing the cops. That's the problem. It's like they shouldn't have to deal with this stuff.
So are we going to put measuring tapes on cops now?
That's what I was thinking, too. They just carry like a big yardstick thing to stay. Let's see. Harassment is defined as an action directed at the first responder that intentionally causes substantial emotional distress and that the first responder serves no legitimate purpose. Emotional distress, legitimate purpose, and which parties may decide that is left undefined. Let's see.
Sure, of course it is.
Let's see. Angela Nixon, Democrat Jacksonville, introduced an amendment to clarify that harass did not include asking a first responder questions of concern for the health, safety, and well-being of the person that is being responded to, and to stress that a person may still impede a first responder if they are breaking the law or using unnecessary harm or excessive force. That amendment failed.
Okay.
So she said... She was like, listen, it doesn't, like, you can talk to them. Like, you can still talk to them, and that doesn't count as harassment. And, like, if the cops are, like, just whooping the tar out of somebody, you can step in for that. Or, you know, EMS is whooping the tar out of someone, you can step in. And, like, all right, so that's my amendment. Florida said, no, no, we're not going to do that. You can't talk. Blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't prevent you from video or taking pictures, but it does require you, if asked, to move 25 feet away, which can make it more difficult, if not impossible. So, yeah, that's... Yes, Charlie?
So, okay, hypothetically, let's just... hypothetically, if a cop or a first responder is getting their butt beat, I don't have to intervene anymore because I'd be harassing the cop.
I mean...
Okay, so I'm not helping someone who needs help.
No, that's
Okay.
harassment.
Okay.
I mean, or just don't video it. That's the thing. Like, people started videoing because of all the cop misconduct that was caught on video. I like the body cams. Like, I hate the whole videoing constantly. Sort of feels illegal search and seizure to me. But I like that they are being videoed. It helps eliminate false claims that gum up the system, and it helps catch bad cops. But citizens filming is another safeguard, safety rail there. And like, yeah, what's 25 feet? And you know that it's like back up. You back up, you keep videoing it. After the cop's done, he's going to come and cuff you because you didn't back up between 25 feet and be like, I did. He's like, no, that wasn't 25 feet. That was like 12. It's like, well, who measured? It's like, doesn't matter. Work it out. You're going to jail. And like, that's going to happen. Like, we all need to carry a laser tape measure with us and just be like, yep, nope, we're good. And like a, major lens. But like, I don't know. So they tried this in Arizona and some other place.
What if you're the person being dealt with by the cops? So you can't film either?
Yeah, that'd be a funny... It seems to imply bystander. Let's see.
But...
Let's see.
To me, that would be evidence thrown out because they'll just group it into this whole,
Yeah, hey, let's see. I just want to see if it... Look at it again. It's legal after you've been verbally warned to approach the first responder. I think... Yeah, it's another kind of area. I think it's supposed to be about other people videoing an interaction with the cops, to make sure that something bad doesn't happen. But yeah, that is a thing. Like, if I'm videoing when you pull me over, which I will, what, you want me to walk 25 feet away or something?
Yeah, plus people have dash cams that video forward and backwards.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's They tried this in Arizona and one other state, and both got shot down for being unconstitutional. So I'm hoping this one gets shot down too. But it feels like one of these like red meat issues that like I don't even understand why DeSantis is doing it. You know, like he's like, we support the cops here in Florida. Other places are defunding. We defend the police. And it's like, well, you're not running for president anymore, and like you can't win governor, and like everyone already thinks, you know, like. The Republicans already like you. Like, why do you need the red meat? Like, I don't know what his plan is.
And there's better ways to support him, too.
Yeah, and it just, you know, like Chris Christie and his failed kind of approach for the president, you know, he passed a lot of, like, red meat laws that made headlines, and they all got shot down, and so none of them worked because it's like all these things are unconstitutional. And so I don't know if maybe the shine came off of DeSantis with this kind of disaster of a presidential run. So he's trying to like build it back up to get where, you know, get that shine back. But this is horrible. You know, it's like, it's not like, yeah, the problem is if you're interfering, that's already a crime, right? Like if someone's trying to arrest somebody and you're getting in the way and interfering, there's like, it's a misdemeanor interfering with police business or whatever the hell. But you know, if you're 5 feet away,
just standing there.
Yeah, like you're not interfering. It's like, you know, you're interfering and harassing. It's like, I'm quietly videoing. Quietly. You know, like that's not harassment.
I'm not videoing you. You just are in my frame.
Yeah, I'm videoing that bird over there. Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully it gets overturned. But yeah, that's kind of the summary. We got Israel getting in a fight with everybody, with us happily helping everybody fight everybody. And then at home, we're fighting the citizens. So our government's giving all of our money to other countries to fight other countries. And they are taking our money. Tax day is Monday, of course. And IRS, apparently all those new agents they brought in, most of the audits they do are from people, I forget, but 80% of them are households that make less than $200,000. And so it's like, all right, well, that's kind of like going after the wealthy like you sold to us. Anyway, we're attacking through that. We're spying. You know, we're saying we can spy on you, but you can't spy on us or even watch us like, without spying. So, you know, things are going well. I can't imagine anything bad happening. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. So, you know, like and subscribe and follow and do all the things on all the places, the YouTubes and Rumbles and iHearts. Till next week, what you got, Charlie?
This is fine.
Everything's fine. Zoom in a little flaming guy behind you there. Everything's fine. All right, I'll see you.